Kia ora team, welcome to the 808 Breakfast Banter. Sorry I'm a wee bit late on the old live cross. Knowing me, I was probably doing my shoelaces, even though I don't have any laces in my shoes. So welcome to probably a special addition to the Breakfast Banter, something that we don't normally do, right? We usually keep it lighthearted, pretty fresh and interesting. I usually have my little sister floating next to me or on the screen with me, Momo, and but tonight I don't. I'm flying solo, and I have a dude, Linc Bowman, who I'll be bringing on fairly soon. He's a young Aboriginal dude, lives in Tassie with an amazing Kiwi, his amazing Kiwi partner, Bailey Rogers, who's a phenomenal weightlifter in her own right. And I've been a fan of hers doing her thing, and through her, I've now started watching Linc and doing his thing. And we've been kind of following with the RX debrief. He's been a real big supporter, following and sharing and commenting on some of the stuff that the boys and girls have been doing, which have been awesome. And then about 4 days ago, he posted a really engaging post that I was like, I kind of resonated and connected with pretty quick, right? And it was around Aboriginal rights and how they've just been bastardized through colonization, and a series of events that have led to basically systemic racism that has gone on, right? And this is all stemmed from the killing of George Floyd in the States on the 25th of May. And anyway, I reached out to him, we kind of chatted, and we kind of went back and forward, and I really got a sense that the brother needed to have a chat, and I felt like I needed to have a chat as well. I don't know if anyone's going to really listen. If you are listening and you are watching, man, we'd love to get your comments. If you want to jump on with us and have a chat, I will post a link up in the comment section as we get Linc on. And we're just going to have a banter. We're going to freestyle this. We really have no plan on what tonight's going to be. It is a heavy topic, and some of it might be quite thought-provoking for yourself. It might be something that you agree strongly with or disagree strongly with, and that's totally okay, because at the moment, him and I have both felt like we've been in the dark for far too long, and we've sat on the sidelines. And this is an opportunity for him and I and anyone else to kind of get off the sidelines and have a bit of a chat and just talk about everything else. All right. So welcome to the broskies. And he's got way bigger shoulders and far better hair than I have.
Yeah. Hey, brother, how are you?
Yeah. And thank you. So, we've talked offline a little bit about kind of why we got into this. But before we begin and kind of delve into those deep parts, kind of give us a wee bit of history, bro, especially for our Kiwi audience.
Yeah.
Who you are, what do you do, maybe a little bit about your heritage, and then basically we're going to kind of weave a bit of a banter session.
Awesome. So name's Linc. Obviously, like many people now know, and that sort of thing. Like Bailey's my partner, who's absolutely phenomenal woman. And I couldn't be who I am without her. She's got my back in basically everything, and she's awesome. But for me, grew up young mixed race kid. In the early days, like what we'd be told is we're half caste. That's always something that kind of doesn't sit right with me, because it's like, what are you? Or when we get asked what percentage you are and that sort of thing, it's like that's not what our culture's about. It's those traditions, it's those things that were passed on to you. So grew up in that sort of environment. Parents were split. I was like most Indigenous kids grew up, and everything was about rugby league and rugby, and that was it. Like that's what we thought was, and I thought was the way out. That was our way. If you want to make something, you got to do it through rugby league. Ended up going to a really, really prestigious rugby school in Australia. Went to Nudgee College, St. Joseph's Nudgee College. Played union all through there and that sort of thing. That was my bit of sporting time at school, and then ended up going over and playing professionally overseas which was really cool. Ended up actually playing for Canada,
Nice.
which is odd. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So even though my dream was always to play for the Wallabies, took a different route.
Yeah.
While I was over there, I ended up doing CrossFit and getting into CrossFit, which was a big eye opener.
Yeah.
Loved the weightlifting side. So when I moved back home, I followed the weightlifting path, and then that's how sort of things went on from there and progressed, and ended up doing really quite well in that, which is good. And then from there, it sort of took me back into CrossFit, and then now owning our box together. We've got our box, and then also like using this now and using this platform that I've got and that sort of thing, and what I've created like for myself through weightlifting and CrossFit, to give that opportunity now to our Indigenous kids and our community and that sort of thing. Because like myself, everything was about football, and once football got taken away, like that, I had that feeling of there was nothing anymore. Moved into another sport, which is weightlifting and CrossFit, and it's given me that outlet. It's given me that place to be myself, rebuild that confidence and that sort of thing too. So, and you meet amazing people from all over, which is the best part about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've watched you probably for the last sort of 6 months, and you lift phenomenal weight, and I get embarrassed by it. That's why I never put my videos up. But it's what struck me just then is that you went to a prestigious school, right? I went to Auckland Boys Grammar, which is in New Zealand, which is a fairly well-received public school. I was not an athletic kid. I came from a broken home just like you, and when I was a young kid, right, I wasn't really around my dad's family as much. My dad's more as the Māori Tongan side.
Yeah.
My mum and so I lived with my mum, right? My mum basically raised me right through, and she did a phenomenal job. She taught me the values of hard work, and she went through multiple jobs to take it through teachers college while putting me through Auckland Grammar and raising our young sister. So I never had a real appreciation for my Māori side. I didn't really get involved with my Māori side until I was a lot older. And as a result of that, when I went to Auckland Grammar, I look back at it now, and the systemic racial divide that was at Auckland Grammar was unbelievable, right? There might have been out of 2,500 boys, maybe 20 Māori boys. They didn't allow us to learn our own language when we asked for it. And I just thought, well, we don't really need our language, because that was what we were told. Your language won't help you when you get out of school.
Yeah.
So well, I don't need my language. I can just talk English, because that's what we're going to be talking right throughout. And as a result, I never got an appreciation for Māori culture.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I used to pray that I would wake up white.
Yeah.
I used to wake up thinking, man, I don't want to be brown. I'm the only brown kid in my group. I'm the only Māori guy. I'm like the token brown guy in my friend group, and I wish I was white. I wish I was. They seem to get all the good things. They seem to have mum and dads. They seem to, have car. We didn't have a fucking car. So, I used to walk everywhere to my friends' places, and they'd be like, how did you walk here? Why don't you get mum to pick you up or drop you off? I'm like, man, we don't have a car.
Yeah.
My mum didn't get a car until I almost finished school. And that's not on her. That's just like...
That's just what... Yeah.
Yeah, right? So we didn't have anything. And kind of listen to what you were just saying, just brought up a whole lot of things for me. As in, I don't regret my schooling, because Auckland Grammar was a phenomenal school and I learned a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that was one of my first indicators that I was different.
Yeah.
And that you don't celebrate your difference, you actually suppress it in order to get through.
Yeah.
And I really despise that now, because I've got 3 young kids, and my kids are mixed race as well.
Yeah.
And as a result, I don't want my kids. Well, I'm sorry. Let's do that. I'm going to have to, at some point, have to deal with racism for my kids, which sucks.
Yeah,
because they don't know anything. They weren't born racist. They don't have a racist bone in the body. They don't see themselves as part Maori or part Anglo-Indian or part Spanish or part Tongan. They just see themselves as, oh, I'm just dad's kid. But then someone's going to go to them and just say, oh, you're Sambo or you're whatever. And then I'm going to have to then navigate this because I had to go through it. I remember getting called Sambo by a teacher at Auckland Grammar and got told to deal with it. Like, you know, fuck, you couldn't believe it. So, dude, you know, I fully get kind of the whole sort of early childhood, and it was pretty hard. And hopefully for some of you guys out there, you know, especially if you're Indigenous or, you know, you're culturally like a very cultural person, I wonder if these actually resonate with you, because they certainly resonate with me. And as a result, I kind of want to ask you this. When you first saw or heard of the George Floyd killing, what were you doing? And then what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, it was like we were here at the we were at the gym and went home, and then when I got home and I was sitting on the couch and I was just on my phone as we do as we're scrolling through. I was actually like editing some videos for the gym, and then it came up, and it's something that really irks me and gets to me, is that we're desensitized to these videos.
Yeah.
But that video, like, I started watching and then I had to stop, because watching the video, I saw what was happening. You start seeing life get taken out. You start seeing him gasp for air. And I was like, I can't watch this. And then I continued to watch. I went back and watched it a second time and just felt sick. And I said to Bailey, I said, babe, there's going to be like a race war in the States will come out of this. Like, it'll be a war zone. And over the next few days, we watched that happen. But one of the things that happened is it brought up something that I was like, I've already seen this. And that was with the 2015 kill when David Dungai died. Like, he was in his cell, and that's happened here. And like this, the same thing happened. He was saying the same thing, I can't breathe. And I was like, we've watched this. This is just history repeating. So I was like, straight away, I was like, you feel and you relate to that. And you relate to what's happening in America. But I was like, why, when that happened, was it covered for like 3 weeks and done?
Yeah.
It did. Like, we continue, like our culture, we continue to put this out there and continue to put out like that it happened, but it keeps getting brushed to the side. And that's like one of the things that got me. I was like, this is really like, because it blew up straight, like every second person you saw that video. And I was like, where's the video of it? Like David Dungai dying. Like, same thing happened. And I was like, this is really, really bad. Like that, it's happening over there. And it's been happening for so long, but it has been here as well. Like, you're split in the middle. You're like, this is not good. This is going to blow up. Really, really blow up. I didn't think, bro, that like it would turn into the war zone. Like, that was just those thoughts that come straight away. Like, oh, and you just say it.
Yeah.
But it did. Like, it did.
You know, I was here. I was actually at work. I was at the gym, and it came up on my feed, man. I was doing some programming, and it came up like, you know, whatever the title was, and I just think you're going, man, this is the match that's going to set the whole barn on fire, right? And 3 days later, it basically did, right? And as a result, I just kind of talking a little bit and kind of going on with what you were saying, like you know, why does this not getting traction, especially in New Zealand and Australia, that it gets to maybe get to the States. Well, I think with the state scenario is that they've had enough. Like they have literally have had enough. They've got nothing else they can do. Martin Luther King, peaceful protest gets assassinated. Malcolm X initially started having a revolutionary, aggressive approach to change, gets killed by his own people, and then it just snowboard. There's a really great documentary, and I've spoken about it a few times, The Uppity, which is about Willie T. Ribbs, first African American. Up until the 90s, owners in Inter the uppity nigger. Excuse me, the uppity nigger. And that was his nickname. And he had enough. But it wasn't enough then. And then as we get more and more, you got Ahmed Aubrey, who passed away in February. And then this one here, it was like a match. I think the challenge in New Zealand and Australia is that it's the too hard basket. We don't want to touch some of these topics in New Zealand. And we've got it pretty bad here in New Zealand for a lot of things. But in Australia, it's taken what? I don't know how many years for even the Australian government to even recognise that they've got a problem with it. And they apologize to you guys, which is like just skimming the top of the cake of what they should be doing. And then as a result, right, you guys now consider, you guys are just trying to put your name out there. I can't remember at the AFL start.
Adam Goods.
Adam Goods. And then you got Paul Latrell Mitchell, those boys who are really proud Indigenous men. And for being proud, the comments that you see on social media, think, dude, how the fuck are you even human? To even say
so bad.
That brother who's just like, I just don't get it. But then I actually understand why I don't get it, because I've been raised in a culture where you hide that and you suppress it as much as you can, and you do not be proud of who you are. I think that's my feeling.
I think, bro, 100%, it's fuck. Gives me the shakes.
I'm trying to shake my head now. I'm like, this is fucked up.
Because it's it's that feeling, right? Where, and like I was saying, this is the same for you. As it's when you're in the middle, and it's hard because being mixed race, you're right in the middle, and you've got no belonging, and you try to belong, but you kept getting pulled back because it's like, no. Look at the color of your skin. Look at that. That's not who you're meant to be. You're meant to be on this side. And this comes back to even for us here, we had a fucking white Australia policy.
Yeah, crazy, right? I mean, it was you had a policy where you could be hunted.
Yeah, it was to
an Aborigine man. I don't know if anyone knows that. But it was only up in the 60s that you could legally shoot an Aborigine.
Yeah. The worst part, there's part of the white, there's a picture and it's always going to sit in my brain. It was a photo for the White Australia policy. It had an Aboriginal mum, grandmother, and she was dark. It had a lighter skin mother, and then it had a blonde hair, blue eye son next to it. And that picture will always stick in my brain because that's what it happened. That was what it was doing, and that's what they said. They want to breed the black out of us.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hardest things in being mixed race, and that is because, I love it. I love it that I've got that Aboriginal side. I've got our heritage on the other side, and there's lots of stuff all thrown in there. But the biggest part on that, bro, is that it's worked. What the White Australia policy has continued to work. And it's going to continue to work. And we can't change that because that's how things happen. And you can be upset, but you can't be angry at it, like, because then I wouldn't be here. Like, and that sort of thing. But it's only 2 generations back that my grandmother was taken from her mum, shipped across the country, put in an orphanage with her brothers. When she got, I think she was 15, she was told, get out of the orphanage. So she had to work nearby so she could make sure and go up to the orphanage to check on her brothers so they weren't getting flogged and weren't getting beaten there. Like, and this is the sort of thing, like, that's 2 generations. So when people say, get over it, and this is the thing you always hear, bro. You always hear it here. As soon as we speak up, we go, oh, just get over it. We've already said sorry. We've already apologized and that sort of thing. It's like, this is generational trauma. That's 2 generations back. That was my dad, and then my grandma. That was only my grandma who was taken. How do we just get over that?
Yeah, and you know, like you touched on that point, right? Generational trauma. Madeline Schelling, Mads, right? For some of you guys that have known, and we interviewed on the RX debrief. You know, she kind of talked about generational trauma and how that's cascaded down, and we've had that. You guys have had that. And when people, you touched on that. Oh, you guys, we've apologized. Hey, you guys get over it. Well, no, we're not going to fucking get over it, because just you saying sorry. I know that you specifically weren't the person that created a racial biased policy 150 years ago. I know that it's not you. However, my grandfather, my grandmother, my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother, and further back have suffered, and we have suffered as people, leading all the way to now. And unfortunately, I will suffer, and you will suffer, and then our kids will suffer, and the next generation next will suffer, because what's happened is that 150 or 200 or 300 years of policy and degradation and separation and just policies that breed the brown or the black out of us is now systemic in myself and you.
Yeah.
Whoever else that is part Māori, part Aboriginal, maybe Filipino or whatever. Yeah. Because we are not considered the people that should be leading the country. Yeah. My people were well and truly happy before you turned up. No doubt your people were truly happy before the white person turned up. And unfortunately, when they came, they took over, and now this is life. Yeah. And for me, I think back now and I'm looking at it, and as a 40-year-old man with 3 young kids, and now really heavily involved with my family, with my dad's side, and I'm now learning about my history, I am so, what's the best way to put it? I am shocked at how messed up our pastors, like, it's unbelievable. And then I get to talk to people like Ben Thomason, who's one of the brothers that helps me with the RX debrief, and Mads and other people within the sector around multiculture, and they've just like blown me away with all these stats and understanding. And someone said to me recently, it's kind of like I took a bit of a dagger to the heart, but there was a wake up call for me, right? I've got a beautiful tamoko across my arm, right? And someone said, "Oh, he just looks Māori. He's not really Māori." Yeah, I didn't speak the language. But he wasn't meaning that because I didn't speak the language. He was meaning because I didn't understand my past and my history. And that was like a wake-up call. It was like a kick in the ass. Like, yeah, okay, I need to get off my backside and start learning. And then as I'm starting to learn, I'm starting to understand, man, we are getting smacked here. Left, right, and center. But it's not as overt as people think. It's quite subversive, because it's through policies and through systemic racial abuse from way back in the day, coming all the way through. I can go into a store, like if I took a white person, a European person, they go into, say, Michael Hill Jewelers. 9 times out of 10 will probably be served very nicely and all the rest of it. I will walk in right after them, and I'll guarantee the user experience will be completely different. And 90% of people will say, yes, that's true. Yeah. And if you don't think that's true, we'll make that happen, and we'll pretty much get it bang on. Yeah.
Like I think like one of the things you said there that really resonates like massively is it's systematic racism. Like it's the policies, it's everything that's put in is what brings us down. It's those policies that make us not be able to get those steps ahead. Like I was having this conversation the other day, and it really got to me, really got to me, because one thing we're always told is like, you can be whatever you want to be, right? If you put in the hard work and if you put in the effort, we can be what we want to be. And right at that moment, I was like, I call bullshit. I was like, because honestly, from my heart and in the nicest way of saying it, we're never going to see an Aboriginal Prime Minister of this country. Like,
yeah, I don't think. Oh, well, not in our lifetime.
Never. Yeah. There's too many things in place to stop it, and to stop that from happening. And I think that's like definitely not in our lifetime. I don't know if we'll be able to change the way culturally, and I don't speak on our culture, I speak on the Australian culture as a whole. I don't think culturally it'll be able to change to accept that. I think like it really, that's one that really gets that dagger in. Hey, bro, like, because you see when Aboriginal people get put into Parliament, they get in, they get put in these places, they get put in these positions of power, and they're told to just sit back, don't open your mouth and agree. Because like, just don't agree with what your people are saying. Stay back there and be the face for us. Because they have to, right? They have to have someone in there. They have to do that to put up face to say, oh yeah, no, we're connecting with the Aboriginal community. We're making these things happen. But when when they put something forward, for some reason it always gets knocked back. It gets knocked back. And you watch the demeanor in the Aboriginal people who are in politics and in these positions of power change.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing to watch. You watch it change and you watch them fall into the system.
Yeah, you know, we spoke a little bit offline about this. I'll kind of bring up a couple of subjects, and if you want to jump on the banter, copy and paste that link, come in. We're happy to chat with you.
Yeah.
What it's about, right? You know, we're taking this subject out of the dark because it's been, you know, I've sat on it for far too long. I know other people have as well. And one of the things that kind of strikes me is that, like, when I was in the army, I was in East Timor.
Yeah.
One of the things when we do in East Timor is that when we do out of theatre leave, we would fly into Darwin, and then from Darwin we'd go to our respective holidays. Yeah. We go to Darwin, go to Casuarina, and I was born in, actually, you know, not many people know, I was born in Australia. I was born in Toowoomba, but not long after that I moved to New Zealand. I got Kiwi parents, but, you know, Mum had me over in Aussie and then came back. So I didn't have really much interaction with Aboriginal people. Fast forward to, I'm 20 years old, just flown in, gone to Casuarina Mall. Like, for those who know Casuarina Mall, right? It's this huge fucking mall in Darwin. And generally all the soldiers would go there, buy some clothes so that we can go on the piss at Rorke's Drift before we catch our flight to New Zealand or whatever. And we're in this van, and we're going along, and as we're going along, it's kind of like the motorway or whatever before you get into Casuarina. And on the side is like a big grassed area, and you see a lot of sort of encampments. And you kind of think, oh, they're homeless shelters. No, they're not homeless shelters. That's where the Aboriginal people live. And the driver said, oh, don't go over there. Those people are not right in the head. And I was like, oh, well, what do you mean? He goes, oh, those Aborigines, not right in the head, right? They'll probably stab you for your money. I just took that as a flippant comment, right? I was like, oh, okay, fuck, I'm not going to go over there. I'm going to go hang out in Casuarina Mall. Go into Casuarina Mall, beautiful mall, not an Aboriginal person in sight, not even a mixed race. It was pretty evident that this is a place where you would go only if you had money. Didn't think much of it. Fast forward several years, I now have a child. And then you start to question things. And one of the things I distinctly remember was having this conversation with this driver about the Aboriginal people. And I was thinking, man, they just get, they just get smacked over there because of how they look, what they do. Well, that's not, that they didn't put themselves in that position. Your guys' policies did that. That wasn't them that decided that they don't get anything and they got to get drunk because that's all they have. It's been bred into them, that's all they are, so that's what they become. Now, as I'm a huge league fan, right? Vodafone Warriors, I'm a day oneer. And I love watching the Kiwi Test. And then I remember watching the All-Stars, the Māori All-Stars versus the Indigenous All-Stars this year.
Yeah.
Fucking best haka on both sides.
Yeah, it was awesome, hey?
Yeah, it was unreal. But this is the first time that I can distinctly remember at any stage, Australia being proud of their Indigenous people and displaying it on show in that format. And I've never experienced that because Australia has never, ever, up until then, promoted it in such a way that they did. We've always had the haka in rugby league, and it's kind of brought down and manifested, and it's become a cultural icon and identity about who we are. And I think that's the difference between New Zealand and Australia, is that I think we're a little bit more progressive than Australians. And yeah, we've got a lot of problems. But like I said before, you guys are like way behind on the eight ball, and it sucks to see, because I think some of the best artwork in the world is done by Aboriginal people. Some of the best. Yeah. And it's not like, you have this amazing heritage that I think you probably predates Māori heritage. And it just, you guys just don't get the love and the attention and that you deserve, and you fucking should. But unfortunately, it's those people.
Yeah.
Don't look at those people, they just put paint on their face and do a little bit of a dance. Well, that bit of paint on our face and that little dance that you see, for me, means something. But unfortunately, you don't get that because you don't have anything. And for people like me and people like you, right? And you said right at the very start, right, culturally, people like me and people like you and people who are Indigenous of their nation have a deep sense understanding and connection with their land. Yeah, like we do. You don't have a connection, but you've got granddad who came on a ship. Yeah. Well, your connection's not to our country. Your connection's way over there, wherever you've come from. And if England is your connection, then that's amazing. Then your connection is over there. Yes, you were a guest in our country, and we love you for it. We don't hate on you, but don't misappropriate who we are because you don't get it. And that's what fucks me off now.
Well,
it just blows my mind.
That's what, that's one of those things that gets me so hard. You guys have the Treaty of Waitangi. We're not even recognized in our own country. We're not the whole Constitution does not say we're flora and fauna. Yeah. We're plants and animals.
Which is messed up because you're not. I when I only heard that recently. And when I heard that you guys were considered plants and fauna, I think was that correct?
Flora and fauna.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Was someone smoking some weed at the time and just thought that'd be a joke and then it became real? Yeah. It blew me away that's it. And Ben's put up here, keep leading with our heart, right? Put our best foot forward. I totally agree, right? I'm all about, not silent protest, but peaceful protest. However, in the States, I can fully understand why it's gone the way it has, because they've America, right? If you look at America and how America was founded, it was not founded by the settlers. It's founded by Native Americans who now don't have anything at all. They've been given some shitty piece of land in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere and said, hey, this is your reservation and be thankful that you've got this. You are now pushed to the side and they basically just gamble and drink because that's what they've been told that they're good for.
Yeah.
And then as the settlers came in, they're like, man, we need to farm some stuff, but I can't be fucked doing it. Hey, why don't we get the Catholic Church to start bringing slave ships from Portugal to Africa to us? And then, hey, let's build America off the backs of our black people.
Yeah.
And now you wonder why they're like, no wonder they're like, I don't get the looting, right? 100% against the looting. But I can understand why they're just so fucking angry. Like, I just get it.
Like, that's one of those things, bro. Like, I don't get the looting. That shit. So it's not right. But, and this really, this made me think differently, like massively. And this was like, so before buying our gym and all that sort of stuff. So I worked in primary schools as an Aboriginal education teacher. So basically, I just work with our little bros, our little sisters, teaching them our ways and that sort of thing. Teaching them everything about our culture, making sure they're proud and that sort of thing. A lot of those kids are off the rails kids. Like, massively off the rails kids. And you can see why. Like, you can watch all these things go through and what they've had to witness and go through in their life as to why they're off the rails. When they're in a classroom setting or something, they lose it, bro. They're throwing chairs, they're throwing all of this. That's trauma. That's a reaction to trauma. That's their cry out. That's how they deal. That's how they react with things, because they've got all this pent up anger and it just creates energy and stems. So when all the riots started and they started like smashing stuff and breaking stuff and that, I was like, that's what's happening. It's the same as in a classroom with these kids. When they lose it because they're just sick of it. And they feel like no one's listening to them. And I was like
a volcano, right? It's just that pressure builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and they're constantly told, you're a thug, you're a wannabe, you're a state housing project person, you're black, you're a slave, you're a nigger, you're a this and you're a that, and for those that have the fortunate have had fortunate where they have never experienced racism. This is a snapshot of what racism feels like. Yeah. Walking into a classroom, when I was at Auckland Normal Intermediate, right, second-hand clothing, because we were dirt poor. Walking in, sitting down, and the girl next to you moves across, so they didn't have to sit next to you, and looks at you and sneers. That's racism.
Yeah.
Now, she wasn't born like that. Her parents have at some point indicated that that's what you do when someone of a different nature sits down next to you. That's racism. Walking into a mall and with your kids who are of mixed race, and people snare at you because, oh, you've slept with a white person and you've gone and had kids and you've gone and diluted, that's racism, right? They're being told that, do we have to listen to this again? Do we have to worry about this stuff again? Do we have to talk about the haka again? That's racism.
Yeah.
It might not be as broad as that, but that's racism. And for people like you, Linc, and myself, I have had, I don't know how much I've had to experience in my life around racism that I've kind of suppressed, because it then became part of my norm. Like you said at the start, right, we get so desensitized to it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I got so desensitized to racism that I used to laugh and think, that's all good.
You just brush it off.
You just brush it off, man, because it's like, hey, that's just part of life. That's what you do. Because, hey, you're Māori and you're meant to be getting that. And then, you know, and you look at America, and then you got a lot of white people think, oh man, you guys are like just getting at us. Well, welcome to reality. Welcome to our life, because what you're getting in the last 5 days is what we've had for the last 300 fucking years.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, well, now how about you step on the front line with us and create some change? Because that's what it's about. That's why these people are getting so pissed about it. That's why I'm starting to get off the sidelines. Because I'm a bit pissed about it. Because this is not what I want my kids to have to endure. I don't want my kids, when I'm 80 years old, they're 40, they own a gym or a business or whatever, they're sitting down having coffee, and then some poor dude is getting their neck choked because they're of a different color.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have a discussion like you are and going, man, I remember what my dad was saying. Back when George Floyd was killed, back on 25th of May, 2020.
Yeah.
I now get it.
It's that, like, bro, like, that goes in, like, it's one of those things, like, and, like, it's really hard to say, but, like, for me and Bailey, like, when we have kids, I'd rather them be brought up in New Zealand than here.
Yeah.
Like,
but it sucks.
Which sucks. And, like, this is the thing. I went over there and, like, I hung out with Mads and Ducky and stuff, and like hung out with Bailey's family and that. I feel more at home in New Zealand than I do in Australia. And that's like something that sits so deep that, like, because you're welcomed, you're accepted. Like, it's that hard thing, bro. Going through high school, and this was crazy. Like, going through high school, there's little things I used to always do, and this touches on what you said at the start about fitting in with the white and trying to be just white.
Yeah.
In the early days of high school, like, I used to always want to hang out with my friends that were white kids.
Yeah. 100%.
And that was my thing. That was like, I'll be with them, until it got to a point that I'd hang out with them outside of school. And that's where I started to see changes. And that's where I started to really notice things. And I specifically remember at the end of year 8, so for you guys, first form. At the end of year 8, I went to a friend's gathering he had at his house. And I was over there with my buddies. And we were over there because we wanted to go gaming. Like,
yeah.
And I remember getting there, and, like, one of the parent who had this house knew that I was Aboriginal. I think maybe because my friend had told them and that sort of thing. But their parent, when I got there, told me the rooms I'm not allowed to go to. Said I can only stay in the lounge room. I wasn't allowed to go upstairs when the others went upstairs. And then I found out that this kid, and he jokingly said it, and he didn't even think and didn't notice. And he was like, before you came over, my dad put stuff away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when I really, things hit to me, and I was like, why would he put stuff away? Why wasn't I, when I was over there, allowed to go upstairs with the other kids and that sort of thing? Like, that general thought that I was going to steal shit.
Yeah.
Like,
natural perception of who they thought you were based on what they've been told that you should be.
Yeah.
Right. That's racism. And for those that have never experienced it, you can now understand why we get so pissed about this.
Yeah.
Because this is still going on. Right. It is like, instead of being proud and teaching Māori language, you now have to write a form to say you can do that, when it should be natural. Hey, you guys still got to Auckland Grammar, and they still teach Latin in third form.
Yeah.
Right? Apart from maybe being a doctor, which, you can learn Latin till the cows come home.
Yeah.
But how about you actually learn Te Reo Māori? How about you actually learn a little bit of the language that we're about and culturally understand about where we're coming from? It's all great that you do a haka for the school. Awesome. Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that all you? I remember being at school. I didn't study anything about New Zealand history until I was in the 7th form, which is year 13. Never was taught. I don't know what it's like now. I don't know if the curriculum has changed. And it was around about how the New Zealand War was about how we were colonized properly. Not around the cultural aspects of who we are. I just thought, man, Hone Heke was the bastard. I can't believe he killed all those people. Well, no wonder he killed all those people. You guys tried to take his fucking land and all his people. Like, I get that now. I didn't get it then because I was told not to.
That's crazy, bro. Like, this is like, so on that, this is one of those nuts things in high school. So in school, we had I think it was called ASPA, which was the Aboriginal students. And man, we had like our Aboriginal liaison officer, like the amount of times I'd skip class and go sit in her office and just hang out because I'd be like, I can't do this. I can't be there. Like, but it's messed up, bro. We were the ones who had to put on dances and classes and that sort of thing for the other students. They would bring them to us to teach Aboriginal culture. There was nothing taught. It was taught everything else history, but not our own history. And they asked us to teach the students. I remember me and one of my good friends, Gapati Yunupingu, who's like that. If you look up the name Yunupingu and you look up him, like that family is like they're the big dogs in the Aboriginal community. Like, but me and him for a week we did no classes. Normal curriculum classes because we had to put a class on every hour in that week to teach students about Aboriginal culture, which is awesome. Like, that's awesome. Like, I'm so proud we did that. But there was nothing in the school teaching that. Like, that's crazy. And like, that goes like, that ties in like then when I was at school, like I said, the whole thing with my buddy at that point and like hanging out with my white friends and that sort of thing. And being in school, like I'd go hang out with them. Man, they had money.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't believe. But that opened my eyes and changed things. Cause then on, like, I was like, I don't want to feel like that anymore. So to this day and that sort of thing, like all my friends and that were Aboriginal, Maori, Tongan, Samoan, Papua New Guinean, or Fijian, because they were the kids in school where I fit in.
Yeah,
that's like my best mate to this day, and like I remember we became best mates because we stood in tuck shop line and shared each other's money to get some food at school. It's like his Michael Hunt, his little brother, Heimel, plays for the Newcastle. So the Hunts all went through Nudgy, and like Michael's my best friend, and like we clicked because we didn't have anyone else to click with. Like, and that was that hard thing. Like, and then you start like, for me, it was learning about like all these other people in our school, and then like the Papua New Guinean boys and that sort of thing. That was awesome. That opened my eyes up. And I was able to teach them about our culture because for them coming here, they had no idea.
Yeah.
Like, and they weren't taught anything. And that still happens.
Yeah.
Like,
I was actually thinking about, some of my best thinking, a lot of people know, is when I'm on the toilet or in the shower.
Yeah.
I was having a think in the shower the other day, and I was like, who's coming on? Someone coming on. So one of the things I remember was when I was in East Timor, right? Got to know some of the Fijian boys really well. Awesome cats. Didn't have a bad bone in their body.
Man, beautiful.
Yeah. Didn't have a bad bone in their body. Go over to Fiji, right? And I've never been, but I talk to a lot of people that have. Go over to Fiji. And you go talk to the kids, young kids, no matter who you are, you could be white, black, Indian, Chinese, whatever. And they will treat you like they would treat one of their own.
Yeah.
How cool would it be that if the world actually did that right round? How cool would it be that, you know, because they don't see color, they don't see you a race, they just see you as a person. And they just want to get to hang out with you and know you. Unfortunately, you know, and probably to this day, you know, to a degree in New Zealand and Australia and elsewhere, that doesn't happen. It sucks, right? It really sucks, because you're now creating the next generation of us versus them. He's brown, I'm white. You know, it'd be amazing if we didn't see people as color. Yeah, we should see people as races, because you're Māori, I'm Māori, you're Tongan, Aboriginal, Tongan, Ethiopian. You should be proud of your heritage. You should be proud of your race. You should see it as race, but you shouldn't see it as a color. Yeah. And that's what blows me away, is that people see people as color, not as an identity, because you should be proud of your identity. You should, I believe, that you should not be marginalized because of the color of your skin, but you should be identified and be proud of what makes that skin that, which is your cultural heritage. Yeah. But for some societies blend those two together. Yeah. And I don't know. And I guess to sum up for this, unless someone else wants to jump on, if someone wants to jump on, that'd be cool. What would you do, or what do you think we need to do to create a far better future for our future generations? Because I actually believe it's too late for you and I, unfortunately.
Bro, I 100% agree. And like, if you had to look, like, I followed my original post up with the second post saying, like, when someone asked the question, they were like, what are the first steps we take? And I said, I don't know. Because we've been doing this for years. We've been fighting these same battles. We're trying to make things happen, but we're not seeing any result. And it's not going to be us. It's going to be the younger ones, because they're the only ones who can level this playing field. They're the only ones who can get taught about everything. And like in primary schools, they still say Australia was settled peacefully.
Yeah, certainly wasn't.
Like,
certainly wasn't.
Like, I'm 100% with you on it, that we can be a voice, and we have to be a voice. That's our connection to our people. That's like goes back thousands and thousands of years. That's our connection, is that we have to be that voice. And we've been given that role, like, and responsibility to carry our cultures. But we'll be the voice, we won't be the change.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I've been thinking about it quite a bit actually the last few days. And I was like, man, if I was asked that question, what would be my response? My response at this point in time could be completely different in a few months, right? As I start to learn and develop and grow and get better education. My response is at the moment is that our elders, right, need to start to identify from our young ones who will be the natural, who will be the people that will help create the change in the future. Yeah. It's too late for them once they get into the 50s and 60s. And that's no offense to our elders. No. But when they, you know, for me, and I know a lot of people out there, when they see like an old Māori or male or female doing their thing, they're like, oh, he's another old bastard doing their thing. Oh, fucking hell. We need a firecracker. We need someone that's going to come in and is not going to, like you said, go to Parliament and just bow down because they're told to be quiet. They're going to be one, they're going to shake every branch and every tree and piss everyone off in order to get to where we want to be. Yeah. And I don't know what change that's going to be, because I don't know if we can change generational racism. I honestly don't know if that can be done. Yeah. Matt, see if you can come on again. See if you can try jumping on again. I don't know what physically needs to change. But what I would like to see is that someone far younger and far more knowledgeable than me and with far more hair than me go out and actually become a leader that I would actually get in behind and aspire and follow. Yeah. Not an old guy who we have in Winston Peters here, who sits there and toes the party line and just does enough to stay relevant within politics, which goes to the point that you said very earlier on. If you get an Aboriginal person going into Parliament, all of a sudden they're told, hey, don't you go there, shake that tree. You sit down there, be a good boy, and you'll get your $150,000 allowance.
That's it. Yeah. Like,
as Doc, yeah. Nuts, man. You know?
Yeah. Like, it's, bro, like, it's so bad. Like, and there's little things like that things that really hurt me growing up. And I look now and I'm ashamed I did. Like, that I don't want our next generation doing and that sort of thing to cross over. Up until like 3 years ago, I used to shave my head. I cut my hair short, everything like that, because I didn't want to have curly hair, because I didn't want to get picked out. Because people are always like, oh, you've got something. You've got something. And I cut it off, and I cut it and keep it short and that, because it was hard to have, because I think, like you nailed earlier, even at our age, you get sick of it. You get sick of the comments. You get sick of that. So I was like, you know what? If I cut it short, I just fit in like other people.
Yeah. You lose your identity because you're trying to fit in with everyone. And as a result, you know, you start to actually assimilate to the racism, right? To the identity crisis that we have. You know, we spoke a little bit offline just before we went on, right? And I know we probably need to sum up fairly soon. But what I want to kind of touch on is one of my pet peeves, right? We've all got pet peeves. Is when people say, oh, I'm 132 Māori. I'm 132 Māori. Really? You're 130. How about you're just proud to be Māori and you're part Māori? Not 132, because now you're like, yeah, my little finger's part Māori, but that's about it. To me, that's like, I'm stoked that you're part Māori. That's awesome. But actually fucking take it on and say, yeah, I'm part Māori. And if that means you're 132, that's awesome. But you don't say it that.
Yeah. Because that's like, and this is the thing, that could be that person who becomes a leader.
Yeah, like you're now ostracizing someone because he's 132.
Yeah.
Like, be proud of that, man. Like, I'm proud that I'm part Tongan. Hell, I'm proud that I'm part German. I've got German Tongan heritage in me. Yeah. I'm so proud of my orange and white flag. I'm proud of my German history, you know, even though it was, you know, World War II is not the greatest thing in the world and it was really bad, but my German ancestry has nothing to do with that. Yeah. They were just good people that went to Tonga, fell in love with the Tongan lady, and that's how I got my German ancestry. I'm proud to admit that I'm part German. I don't say I'm 132. I'm part German. I'm part Tongan. I'm part Māori. Deal with it. If you don't like it, fuck off. Yeah. Because now I'm real proud of it. And when people kind of say to me, oh, you Tongan, German, Māori, what are you? I'm all three of them. And if you don't like it.
And we've got that connection to all of them.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's one of the big things, bro, is people think it's like we're trying to hate on the white culture.
Absolutely not.
It's against the system. We hate the system racism.
Yeah. And unfortunately,
no matter what color you are.
You know, and it's not white people, it's white privilege.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And that's the difference, right? We're not hating on people who are of fairer skin.
Yeah.
Because you're just as amazing as we are. What we're hating on is the fact that because of your white skin, I get treated differently to you. And that's what sucks. Lucy's just put up there, right? She's got 3 amazingly gorgeous kids. You would not know that they're part Māori. Not one of them. And one of them's got 2 of them got Māori names, right? But you would never know that they're Māori. And she just said up there, she doesn't care that, you know, she doesn't want people to look at them by their skin color.
Yeah.
It's exactly right, because even though they're fair skin, I think they all speak Māori fluently. Well, Te Reo doesn't, he's a baby, but the other 2 can kororo Māori with their Uncle Ben, who I have had the utmost respect for over the last several months, because he has helped shape me a little bit. Inadvertently, he doesn't even know that. If he's watching, Ben, thank you, because you've helped me identify a little bit more to where I should be.
Yeah. Like, That's it. That's that thing, bro. That touches back on like what we said about that connection. That color doesn't mean anything. It's that connection that we've got. It's that cultural connection, that connection to the land, connection to language, connection to our old people. I think that's where a lot of people miss when they try to classify us as quarter caste, half caste, all this sort of stuff. It's not that. It's that connection we have to our past and to our ancestors and to the now. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Okay.
You get on that, you're always gonna have that connection.
I was going to bring on a fellow here. Hello, Matt.
How you doing, chaps?
Yeah, good, buddy. Good. Thank you for popping on, man. Give us a
Yeah, no. Someone's got to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just been listening to what you guys have been saying, and obviously by my accent, I am English. Born and raised, been over here about 7 years in New Zealand, and I have a little 5-year-old beautiful girl. And my question is this: I used to work up in London, quite a diverse place if you haven't been to London before. And I haven't seen racism like I have done so broadcastedly, is that a word? Broadcast, so visually, I suppose, as I have done maybe here in New Zealand. And then maybe just because I'm a white bloke, I don't, I'm not privy to it. You know, I'm not going to, it's not going to be as obvious to me because I am a majority walking around the place, you know.
Yeah.
So that's, unfortunately, that's something that I will never, ever be able to experience, not unfortunately, because it's a horrible thing. But so anyway, so yeah, so the thing that kicked it off for me is I was in, I work at the airport, and I was in the BP at Manukau. Now, on the pump, it says pay up pump.
Yeah.
So when I first got here, I'd go in, line up, you know, can I have $20, or, you know, can you free pay the pump? And then after a while, I stopped doing it. I was just like, well, I'll see if it works. And it worked. And I was like, well, okay, they obviously seen me in the cash register. And then I realized everyone around me, because I was in South Auckland, was going in and paying at the pump or having to stand in queue. And I was sat there, and it wasn't until I sat there and went, why are they not making me go in? And it was very obvious. There was just the color of my skin. And that really, wouldn't have that in where I'm from, but, you know, from London, it wouldn't, and that really shocked me. And I was really like, for a country that's quite diverse, especially Auckland, yeah, and I was just like, that was a real kind of tipping point for me to realize that something was different, I suppose,
yeah,
in being such a wonderful place. But my main point is, so I've got this 5-year-old. She's a beautiful little girl. She's my missus a Kiwi. But how do I, with my history and my outrageous history, not only here in New Zealand, Australia, Africa, America, you know, it's horrendous. How do I bring her up so she's not like the people who have been before me? Or how do I educate her in the horrific things that we've done so these things don't happen again?
What a super gnarly question, dude.
Like, that's like, do you know if there was more people that could just ask that question, bro, like if there were more people like you, like, we'd be in a much better position.
Yeah. I've been listening to the last hour, and before I moved over here, I read a couple of history books about New Zealand because obviously my wife's a Kiwi and she was a tour guide, so she knows an awful lot about the country. And I wanted to make sure that I knew enough, as much as I could, because what I didn't want to do is grow up with her growing up with an English dad, just banging on about England and drinking tea and moaning a lot. I wanted to be able to teach her about her history and about her culture and the culture that she is going to grow up in. And I think that it is outstanding that New Zealand kids aren't taught about their history. And I think it's outstanding that they're not taught the language that is of this country. You know, I mean, she goes to primary school now, and I'm amazed at how diverse her school is up here on the shore. And it's good to see. But another thing I just wanted to say I know you guys have got to crack on, but in Wales, for instance, they had a similar problem with obviously English rampaging many hundreds of years ago. Only recently, I say recently in the 10, 15 years, the Welsh language has been taught in primary schools without question. They don't ask parents, it's just taught. And then when they get to secondary school, so you get to secondary school, 13, I think it is, you then choose, you know, whether to keep the language or to go on to French or Spanish or Latin, whoever learns Latin. And I think that should be the same here. I think children should know the native language, and they should be taught it up to the age where they're an adult enough to whether they can carry on the language, which hopefully they would do, or they can go off and learn another language, or Spanish or German. But I think it's amazing that it's not part of the curriculum. You know, children aren't taught about wars that go on here and how the English and Spanish and whatnot. You should know your history of where you come from, even if it is horrific like mine. We should all be taught the history so it's not repeated in the future.
You know, you're probably touching on an important, Matt, you're probably touching on an important point there, right? Is that we should, and I guess, and more important to the question you asked is, how do I now tell my 5-year-old to not go down this line that is currently happening with kind of past generations? Is that you be as open and transparent as possible. Yeah, things in the past happen that have created a certain climate that we are in currently. It does not mean that it continues on with you. And when we start to celebrate and be as culturally diverse as possible, you know, two of my kids, their best friends are Asian, they're Chinese. I love that. I love that they have Chinese friends, because they don't see them as Chinese or whatever. They see them as their mate.
Yeah.
And I will foster that till the cows come home, that they only see people for who they are. They accept that they're culturally different, 100%.
Yeah.
But they look at that person for who they are, what they believe in, as a good bugger, because they're going to have their back when they need it, and that person will have my son's back when they need it. My daughter's best friend is English. She's part English, right? And loves her to pieces. Bethany is like nothing could go wrong for my daughter. Ayla loves Bethany to pieces. Thinks she's the best thing since sliced bread. Ayla doesn't see her as English. She sees her as Bethany. Now, wouldn't that be amazing if the world looked at people because of their name and who they are, as opposed to, she's English, I don't want to be friends with her because she did this to me, whatever. Or he's Chinese, they did the coronavirus. You know?
Yeah.
Our kids don't care about it. And I think more to the point about how you talk to your daughter and about where to go from here, go with your gut reaction. Go with your gut instinct. Because your gut instinct will 9 times be correct. Right? And there's no playbook on this. I wish there was, because the world would be a lot easier. The world doesn't have a playbook on how to deal with racism. Because it's so fluid, it's like water. And it constantly manifests and changes. So I think, Matt, for you, just wing it, brother. And you will know how to do it. Because no one will know how to raise your daughter other than you.
Oh, yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. And I hope and wish that I can do a weekend as parents, do our best as an English man, that I can teach her that there are countries and people like my ancestors that have done and sometimes are still doing horrific things. And those are, like I said before, those should be for reference, and we should learn from that, and we shouldn't repeat that. And hopefully we can we can just all live in a little bit more of a harmonious place. But it's an interesting place being English and being here, because I have in the UK, I knew racism was there. I knew it existed. I'd seen it at work. I'd seen it on the streets. And here, now I'm very aware that it's my heritage that has created a lot, because obviously the English came over and settled here the same as I would have done in Australia. So it's history, and what my ancestors have done seems to have closed the historical gap when I moved here, like the realization for me. Whereas in the UK, it seems hundreds of years ago was slavery.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So now all of a sudden I moved here 7 years ago, and then all of a sudden I'm brought up to speed, and it's like all of a sudden I'm meeting people and friends with people, and they're like, what did you think of your ancestors? I'm like, oh, blimey, I've never been asked that before, and that's took me off to go and learn about what had happened here, and learn and read those history books and be amazed and shocked that what happened here, and then again shocked that it's not taught. And kids of our generation, I'm nearly 40, and most probably yourself, weren't taught about the history that went on here. And hopefully the kids nowadays, and my daughter, will get taught about the history in this country. And
I think, Matt, one of the awesome things is that you're taking that time, bro. Like, you're taking that time out to learn. This is the huge thing. You're learning about the culture. You're wanting to learn about the culture so your daughter can learn. Like, you both learn together about the New Zealand culture, and that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I think it's I've met a lot of English, as you do, especially living on the shore in Auckland. That was South African, and it amazes me that the amount of people that don't do that. I've met people that have been here for 40 years and they still don't know about the land wars, or they still don't know about the treaty, or they don't know these things. I'm like, why haven't you? You've come to a country, you've asked these people to embrace you. Why haven't you learnt those things? Why haven't you made the effort? Why haven't you tried to learn the language like I do? And I'm horrendous at it because I can't roll my R's. You should be, I think it's disgusting that people do that. Don't learn these things.
Yeah, nuts, bro. Like, you're 100% correct that, it would behove people to actually maybe take a half a day and learn some stuff. I'm in the same boat to a degree, right? Because, I suppressed a lot of my cultural heritage because I was really embarrassed by it. But now I'm realized that it's something to be really proud of. And I think for a lot of people that come into New Zealand, they're like looking to settle, right? Because generally, if you're coming to New Zealand, it's because where you've come from is not the most amazing spot anyway. But they're just they're so resistant to change that change becomes such a hard thing to actually implement. And Linc and I were talking a little bit before about how do we then make this, and how do we then change this? Where's our next step? And I think the next step is that your daughter, my daughter and son, and their kids, and that's where the change will happen. Because if we can then instill a little bit of, if we can instill into them to be proud of who they are and where they are and who they are and their heritage, they will have a leap, like a head start.
Yeah, massively.
Me and Linc are old bastards. Matt, you're an old bastard. We're old bastards, all right? And we can make change by keeping our kids up to date with what's happening, and then they can then create the change for us.
Yeah.
Because it's it's not a quick fix. You ain't gonna fix it in a year. You ain't gonna fix it in 10 years. You're gonna fix it in 50 to 100 years. That's where the change will be.
Yeah.
But it's got to start at some point. And I think that's why Linc and I decided to jump on today and chat about this, because now I've actually finally got to meet you, because we've only communicated on email, Matt.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, and now I get to actually see who you are, and you know, it's awesome.
Yeah, well, like I said, thanks for letting me have 10 seconds of talking, and I will let you lads crack on with the.
We'll catch up soon, Matt. Thank you, Matt, for coming on.
Very good.
And bro, I think we've, you know, have we gone for 75 minutes? It's longer than I thought we would. I thought we'd only be here for a little bit. So thank you to everyone at home. Linc, do you have any final words that you want to say?
I think like for us both to be able to speak in that is awesome. Like I think we've been lucky, man. We like and I still keep tying, like I'll tie this back to what obviously like fitness and health has done. It's brought us together to be able to reach out and that sort of thing. That I love. That's something I love. Like, and that's something that has given us that opportunity to talk about this, to talk and to be on an even playing field, to be able to go, hey bro, I feel you 100%. I know where you're coming from and that sort of thing. Like, I think that's really cool. Really, really cool.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Like, you know, one of the things I thought, you know, all day I've been thinking about this, right? I've been like basically going since 4 this morning, right? Coaching classes, working on the business and all the rest of it. But in the back of my mind, this whole thing has been continuously kind of rolling through. And unfortunately, like I've been glued to this fucking thing because I've been so invested in what's happening in the States, because I'm a huge Colin Kaepernick fan, right?
Yeah.
He, you know, and that image that LeBron James put out, this is why, stirred up a lot of emotion for me. So for me to sum up, right, is that, and to thank you for those that have listened and have stuck by us for 1 hour and 17 minutes and 10 seconds. You have done phenomenally well to listen to our voice. I'd rather do a marathon ski than to listen to my voice.
Yeah.
So, but thank you so much, because for you to be able to communicate and talk with us has allowed me and Linc to be able to get out what we've been feeling inside.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've only really scratched the surface, because there's still lots of thoughts and feelings that I have yet to articulate, because I don't fully understand them at the moment. I guess you're probably the same, bro.
There's a lot of stuff that I think at a later date we need to do this again and put more into it, more context in. Yeah,
and like, you know, and maybe drill down a few things, but you know, it stirred up a lot of memories for me that I had forgotten. As you talk, you're kind of like, oh fuck yeah, that kind of happened. So for those that have listened, for those that are still listening, I hope what you take out of this is that it's okay to be proud of who you are culturally, and it doesn't matter the color of the person's skin. It matters about what's in them and about how they make you feel, and if they make you feel awesome, then that's a good thing. Yeah. All right, so thank you very much for tonight's. It's been an incredible experience to be able to share some of the stuff with you all. Linc will kind of talk a little bit offline after this anyway, but I can't wait to actually meet you once the borders open up and you come over here and I can pretend that I can out weightlift you. And please don't bring Bailey, because she'll out weightlift the whole lot of us. All right, so yeah, be nice to us when you come here, Bailey, please. Please. Thank you very much, team. That is us. Au revoir, farewell, auf Wiedersehen. I will see most of you tomorrow on the 808 Breakfast Banter at 8:08 a.m. We have on day 4 of our movie thing, so we'll talk about that. But anyway, been a blessed experience. We'll chat to you all soon.